If you've ever been curious about how much magnesium or how magnesium affects your plants and the quantities, this is the right video for you. Okay, so for my A pail, I'm going to be using the numbers that I've kind of come up with here. These are loosely based on the Hoagland solution. Just about everything from the target to the resulting ppm is pretty close. These are the chemicals that I'll be using to make that happen. There won't be any master blend tomato in there. You can see that quantity is 0. But it gets everything pretty close with the exception of nitrogen. It's a little lower. The target ppm here is 210 and it's 168.4. The rest, I'm pretty happy with the rest. So what I'll be doing instead for the B and the C pails, I'll be basing all these numbers for the targets on this calculation here for the A pail. So we're not putting too many variables in there for this experiment. Here's the numbers that we're going to be using for the B pail. The left side is our target and the right side is what we've actually come up with. Magnesium is going to be at the 49 for this one. This is our control. And the resulting nutrients that I'm going to use are listed in their quantities on the right hand side here. Okay, and finally for our C pail, these are the numbers that I've come up with for the resulting ppms. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. And the resulting quantities and chemicals to use to make that happen. Magnesium carbonate is going to be the addition here. That's going to let me bump up my magnesium quantities to 250 or 249.302 without bumping up the sulfurs, because that's another experiment that's coming up and I don't want too many variables. All right, so now that we've got the nutrient mixes all figured out, I've got my tablet set up so I know what to put in all my pails. All of them have 3 gallons of RO water inside there, and that's kind of how we're going to mix it up to start out with. Once that is all mixed up, I'll pH check the EC, and it's going to go inside of my rails into that setup for the grow. Dicon radishes are going to be used inside there. That's the plant of choice. All of the nutrients will be measured out with the digital scale that you see here. This is good to 1 decimal place, hence why I rounded up when you've seen the calculations happen. All right, so the pails are all mixed up, and we'll get the pH values of all of them. Pail A, we got a pH of 5.95. The B pail has a pH of 5.89 and a pH of 5.97 in the C pail. EC is 2.1 for the A pail. We have an EC of 2.49 for the B pail, and we have an EC of 2.73 for the C pail. As a side note, it did take quite a bit of pH down. I used phosphoric acid, about 2.5 ml. I didn't want to use any more phosphoric acid just because I didn't want to mess with the nutrient uptake too much. So it got a bunch of citric acid to kind of get that pH down. It took a lot. I was very surprised at how much citric acid it did take to get that pH down. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Magnesium carbonate is a fantastic buffer. So anyway, all 3 pails are mixed. They're going to go into the test. Seeds are already planted. I'm going to kick off the pumps and we'll get back to you guys after germination happens. All right, so all the plants are up in the ABC setup here. Everything is thinned out, only 1 plant in each. We'll give this probably another 3 weeks and we'll kind of see what the results are at. Here's a quick update of the ABC pails. As we can see, everything is growing and so far everything looking pretty consistent. With the exception of the middle row, it looks like there's a little bit more growth going on there in comparison to the 2 outliers. So here we have the A, that's the B row, and that's the C row. And right now, I can't tell any difference. Let's get them weighed in. So to get these weighed, I'm just going to take the entire plant out of the container, like so. Then we'll take the greens portion and weigh that separately, and the fruit portion, we'll weigh that separately. So the A row first plant, 104 grams for the greens and 14.8 grams for the root. B row first plant, 145 for the green, 38.2 for the root. C row first plant, 127 grams for the green, 15.3 for the root. B row second plant, 122 for the greens, 18.4 for the root. B row second plant, 227 grams for the greens, 69 for the root. And this thing is massive. That's pretty dang impressive for the B row C row, second plant, 166 for the green, 35.9 for the root. A row, last plant, 175 for the green, 21 for the root. B row, last plant, 144 for the green, 53.5 for the root. C row, last plant, 103 for the green, and 30.0 for the root. Here's the A row fruit, the B row, and the C row. No comparison here. The control absolutely dominated. We'll get the official weights and averages in. We have a final EC in the A pail of 812. We have a final EC in the B pail of 1203. And we have a final EC in the C pail of 1196. What else is interesting here is that that's the A pail, that's the B pail, and there's the C pail. What else is interesting here is the B pail has the most amount of liquid consumed. We have a final pH of 6.99 in the A pail. We have a final pH of 7.21 in the B pail. And we've got a final pH of 7.98 in the C pail. So I took all of this information to make this easier to look at and chucked it all into a spreadsheet. So any of the information that you want to look at, A, B, and C, is on the side-by-side. The EC changes are listed here as well for the A, B, and the C, and the pH changes, with the C pail by far being the largest pH bump. And then the ppms, if you want to compare those. I also took and plugged in all the plant masses. So the total plant mass for the A, B, and C are listed there. The clear winner here is the B, the control. Now, interestingly enough, the A and the C both were very close on the total plant mass, but the root mass is noticeably quite a bit larger in the C. But still, compared to the control, having too much or too little nutrients definitely was not great for these plants. The closest we got was with a C pail, and that's like half of what the control did. So definitely worth it noting that magnesium in the right quantities, it clearly has a pretty big effect on plants. So the interesting takeaway from this for me is that too much or too little magnesium is going to affect your fruiting portion by quite a bit. So the right quantity of magnesium, obviously more important than maybe I thought it was. If you enjoy grow test comparison videos like this, the next one I'm working on in the series is calcium. In fact, I already started mixing those nutrients up today. That's going to be starting in the pails probably tomorrow, which is August the 14th. So expect to see that video somewhere in the end of September-ish area as that grow progresses and gets all finished up. Those results will be showing up on the channel here when that's available to you.